episode number 107 of the Cozy Corner of Cinema. This episode is being recorded on Sunday, April 14th, 2024 at 5:52 p.m. on a somewhat chilly night. It was actually not too bad today. A little breezy, but now, actually, as I'm thinking about it, it is a little chilly. I got my long sleeve on here, I got my beverages here, so we're just going to keep on rolling through it. Keep on with daily tasks, our daily missions, keeping on whatever it is we need to keep on with, our goals, our dreams, our hopes, our ideas for the future, how we want to achieve that. If we're going to sit around and think it's going to happen to us without ever, doing anything about it, well, it may, but chances are very unlikely, and that's in that regard. So that's why we got to get up. We got to get up out of bed. We got to go ahead and make the day ours and really kind of just fulfill whatever daily promises we need to fulfill to ourselves. And whether or not we achieve those or not, well, we don't want to say that we didn't try. That's kind of the daily sort of mindset you want to have, is kind of, starting off every day with sort of your boots on the ground, and just being able to, or being able and willing and ready to kind of just take on whatever challenges may come your way. It may be difficult at times to kind of, kind of face whatever kind of daily issues that we have, or issues in the long run. We get worried about the future, we get worried about our past, worried about all this and that, and ultimately it ends up not really being anything that, for the most part, it really sticks with us. I mean, things you're worried about, months ago, you're not even thinking about now. And so if you're sitting there like, oh, I'm worried about, this test I got to take, or this job interview, this and that. It's like, well, brother, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And, you can only do so much in your control. And whether or not it works out in your favor, it doesn't work out in your favor, remains to be seen. But you're going to be sitting around kind of worrying over nothing, and sort of like that time, that energy you're going to be wasting, it's really just kind of a wasted potentially using that time to prop yourself up in other ways and focusing on whatever other tasks you need to at hand. It's just really great to kind of just take a step back and really kind of focus in on one thing at a time, not be overwhelmed by the big picture, looking at everything from a overhead bird's eye point of view. It's very easy to get kind of lost in your own thoughts that way, and kind of think this doom and gloom that is very easy to kind of fall into. But ultimately it's just having that hope, having that faith, and just having that confidence to really take on whatever issues are going to come your way, man. It's sort of like just one thing at a time. And that's all we can do. We've made it this far, so we can't give up now. What are you going to do, give up on our hopes and dreams and our futures because things go a little awry sometimes? Hell no, man. That's way too easy. That's what they want us to do, man. They want you to kind of, they want you to kind of fall behind and succumb to societal norms and be in situations you don't want to be in. And hey, let's go out to get lunch and let's talk about nothing. And let's go stare at a wall. Let's go do nothing with our lives. And maybe if you actually want to do, then hey, God bless you, man. You got to be able to be the forefront of your life. But if you're somebody like me who's like, hey, man, I got things to do. I've devoted my life to my passions, and the cinema, the arts, the literature, all that. That's what I'm focused on, man. And that is why you gotta really just kind of be steadfast and really be kind of upfront with your ambitions and what you choose to do with your life. It's sort of like you don't want to be falling behind and sort of waking up one day and realizing, oh man, I can't believe all this time's passed. I haven't done what I wanted to do. People talk about that all the time. They always talk about, oh, it's already April. I try to do this and that. It's like, brother, you're here. You're alive right now. What the hell are you doing, man? You gotta be waiting until tomorrow, next week, next month, next year to make your great film or work on your great novel or your great music album or your great painting or anything like that, man. It's so easy to fall into that trap. You gotta just do it, man. You gotta cut out all that nonsense, really be focused on what it is that you want to do and what you want to achieve. It ain't gonna happen overnight, man. These things take time, they take energy, and they take a lot of passion. And if you don't have that, or you're not willing to put in that sort of time, energy, and passion, then that's fine. But just don't be surprised if you wake up one day and you're just like, oh man, what happened to that great novel I was gonna write? What happened to that great film I was gonna make? That great script, that great whatever, this and that. It's all about just finding that balance between your life and your passions and everything of the sort, man. It's just really life is just such a beautiful thing to not want to throw it away and not kind of just waste it. And when I say waste it, I'm not talking about working nonstop at it. It's all about just being analyzing your own situation and just kind of wondering to yourself, is this where you want to be? Is this a situation you want to be in? And if you say yes, then God bless you. We're all in, awe of you, and we're all in, we could all learn from you. But if not, then you got to kind of wonder, where can I kind of change these things? I've been listening to this audiobook. I get the name of it. That I mentioned before how on let me see here, the audiobook from Sam Wasson, which is The Path to Paradise, a Francis Ford Coppola story. One that I had known about, but this had popped up. As I mentioned before with Spotify, it was a little frustrating how they only give you X amount of hours for audiobooks. And because I was talking about before, there's so many great audiobooks on there that I'd love to listen to and love to get into, but then they limit you and they I don't know what the exact amount of hours are, but it's sort of like you can probably get through one if you're reading it, if you're listening to it at a steady pace, for a lot of the day. But so in this case, I'm just listening to it in bits and pieces. I still have plenty of stuff to go with through on this. But yeah, no, it's the Path to Paradise, which initially, I mean, it does play as a biography of sorts, but it is intentionally jumping around with different time periods. So I mean, it mentioned it talks about like a large portion of it is about the zoetrope pictures and the relationship that Coppola had with a lot of his contemporaries, like probably most specifically is George Lucas, and how they really played a big part in each other's works early on. Coppola being a really kind of advocate for THX 1138, which is just a wonderful science fiction film. It's probably, I mean, I don't know if I like that more or less than American Graffiti. I think American Graffiti would probably be sooner to rewatch, but THX is just one of the great 70s science fiction films. Just really kind of cold and bleak, but just a really stylistic film and really terrific in its own right. So it does jump around a bit. I mentioned before a while ago, I did read the book Leave the Gun, Take the Cannoli, specifically about the making of The Godfather. But a lot of that book as well does mention the histories of not just Coppola, but also Mario Puzo and their friendship as well. That book has a lot of very funny, intentional kind of moments. And they talk about, I won't give it all away, but how Coppola got hired for the job, and it was kind of a not even a misunderstanding, but they thought Coppola was somebody else, like this kind of who he was as a person, and that book was eventually, I think, was a direct adaptation for the mini series The Offer, which is on Paramount, I think, which I didn't watch, but I hear is very good. I'd be curious to watch it someday, but that book is still so fresh in my mind, having read it a year or two ago, that I don't think I need to immediately see. But this is great as well. This goes into a lot more in depth into his past. It talks about because when I say it jumps around a lot, I mean they're talking about on the set of Apocalypse Now, and just the hell that pretty infamously, it's a notorious production on that film, just everything going wrong, and both Coppola's, Francis Ford and Eleanor, being hospitalized for I think they had dehydration at one point, and Coppola was Martin Sheen had a heart attack at one point, and I'm only I don't know how, maybe a little less than halfway through this. There's still so much more to get into, but just a really great listen so far. I'm familiar with Sam Wasson. Some of his other books he did, The Big Goodbye, The Chinatown, and The Last Years of Hollywood, which I haven't read yet, which will that's been one that I've almost picked up a couple of times, so that'll be read at some point. And then as well, he did another book, I think The History of Hollywood, I believe it was. No, Hollywood, The Oral History. Okay. So yeah, he has quite a bit here. So he has. I mean, this is the only thing that I've read, or I should say, listened to his. He is able to, the way he writes, I think is really strong. The way he's able to, even though he's jumping around different time periods and stuff, and it is I would say it's a little disjointed, but I think it's still fascinating, and it's still very engaging. Where I can still, once it's on, then I'm just totally into it, and it's great. And it's actually interesting that I bring this up, because I was going to bring up a connection with that. One, that the Rain People, I think got announced a little while ago, but that's coming to Blu-ray now from Motor Archive in May, and that's really strong, really excellent early Coppola film. When James Caan passed away, that was one that I was hearing a lot in conversation again. I don't know if I watched Freebie and the Bean before or after Caan had passed, but that film and The Rain People were one that I'd seen around the time, either before or after, that really kind of showed his versatility as an actor more so than maybe what people would see him as in The Godfather. I think the range that he has, and especially something like The Rain People, as opposed to something like Freebie and the Bean, where him and Alan Arkin, also RIP, are playing it so big and they're playing it huge, and also, actually, a cool film that he did, which isn't a great film, but I think would be really good for a remake, is the film Games from 67, 68, maybe even 69. I don't know. That was one that it's one of those like, man, I'd be surprised if Ryan Johnson didn't have some sort of influence from this on Knives Out. But that's a cool film. I think that'd actually be. It's not a great film, but I think that'd be a film that would make a really cool remake. But James Caan's also very good in that as well. He's a very. I'm really interested in him in this period of still kind of just figuring out his footing, but doing these really really cool, really different, unique kind of roles, and just having this. When he's playing it more dramatic, there's aggression there. That's really, it feels kind of like a tipping point. Even in The Godfather, it always feels like he's about to go off the edge, and he feels like he's gonna, like, cause in that film they realize that we can't get him. He's gonna cause a problem, man. It's great though. But with that said, Eleanor Coppola did pass away the other day. And I hadn't even totally made the connection until I started talking about this book here. But yeah, she passed away, and it's a real tragedy, man. I mean, she shot all the documentary footage for Apocalypse Now that was put into Hearts of Darkness, the documentary from 91, I think. Don't quote me on that. I don't even know why I try to throw out these years when I might be wrong. Hearts of Darkness from 91, but she did pass away very tragically, and on the eve of that with Coppola's newest film, Megalopolis, which will be premiering at Cannes. So that's going to be really cool. That's totally just, any new Coppola is definitely a total treat to see. I still have yet to see Twixt, although I've not heard very many good things. But one of his recent work, the one of which I've been championing since I've seen it, was Tetro from 2009 with Vincent Gallo and Alden. I always forget his last name because I always say it wrong as is, but I always forget how to say it. But he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in Oppenheimer. He was in I think he was in Hail Caesar as well, the Coen Brothers film. No, I'm sorry, not no. Oh, yeah, no, he was. Yeah, he was in Hail Caesar. He played the cowboy in that. And he was also in that Warren Beatty one, Rules Don't Apply. He's a very good actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff, and he's just really, really terrific. And he's terrific in that film, too. That's one that I'd love to see Criterion or any company really kind of pick that up, because I think that's still kind of stuck on DVD. I don't even know if that has a Blu-ray or not. But really gorgeously shot black and white film. Great kind of back and forth between these brothers. And I don't want to get too much into it. And also I don't want to mess up the plot. It has been a little while since I've seen it, so I may get some things wrong. And actually, it does have a Blu-ray, which is cool, and it's pretty easy to find. But that is one that, at least in the conversation, I don't really hear brought up. How do I say his last name? Alden Ehrenreich. Is that how you say it? Ehrenreich. Ehrenreich. I always want to call him Alden. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, Alden Ehrenreich or Ehrenreich. Yeah, but yeah, either way, Tetro is great. I'm curious to watch Twixt. Curious to watch that new version of Twixt as well, the Betwixt. The full title I don't remember the name of. And actually as well, The Outsiders got a 4K last year, I believe. Last year or 2 years ago, I don't know. That is one that I haven't seen. But curious about that 4K with the two different versions of the film on there. But yeah, no, it's definitely it's all coming together. I mean, it's sort of like I'm thinking about it's just on the mind, just that book, and then with Eleanor Coppola's passing, Megalopolis being premiered at Cannes, and just these films, it's all coming together. I mean, Sofia Coppola as well. I mean, she just had Priscilla. And that's it's on HBO now, I think. It's on Max. I've been seeing a lot of the recent A24 stuff pop up on there. I was surprised actually when I opened up Max the other day that I guess it's not even HBO anymore, it's just Max. But I was surprised that the Zone of Interest was already on there. I mean, I think that's still playing around here at some places. At least I think it is actually. Either that or it just left. No, it's not still playing here. Never mind. But yeah, I mean that is cool that it's on there. That was one that I was waiting, man. I was like, when is that gonna be playing here, man? I've been hearing people talk about it for months, and then it finally comes out, and then I'm like, oh, it's great, it's a great film, and then it just gets plopped onto Max. I read today. I hope this isn't true, that Killers of the Flower Moon is not getting a U.S. Blu-ray. Or at least it's not in the cards right now, which is kind of insane. That does have a Region B Blu-ray right now, and that might actually have a 4K as well. Which either way, I'll have to import it. But I was surprised that Criterion didn't just immediately scoop that up, especially the way that they scooped The Irishman up. That premiered on Blu-ray through Criterion. I don't even think that has a Region 2 Blu-ray or not. I'm really not sure. At least outside of Criterion. I mean, I imagine they probably have a Region 2 Criterion of that. But that was so surprising that Killers of the Flower Moon, this big kind of tentpole, Oscar-nominated film, and it received, across the board pretty unanimously positive reviews. It's just bizarre that wouldn't be a priority to them. I understand there'd be subtitles they don't want, that they don't see the market in putting out on Blu-ray, but it's just bizarre that would not get one in the States. Again, unless a Criterion or someone picks it up. I guess that's just gonna be lost to streaming. So that's why pick up your damn Blu-rays, man. Pick up your 4Ks, pick up whatever it is, because without them, these films are going to be lost to streaming services. So in 10, 15 years or whatever, when they're like, actually, we don't think you should watch this film anymore because of X, Y, or Z. It's like, oh, I can't watch Kills of the Flower Moon because of whatever, it's a censored version, or they added blah, 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 The whole thing's just ridiculous, man. It's absolute nonsense. But speaking of nonsense, it was crazy. I was going to the cinema the other day, and I saw those James Cameron 4Ks got released of True Lies, Aliens, and The Abyss. And I at least wanted to grab True Lies. And maybe The Abyss if they had it. Aliens I don't need to upgrade. I have that great kind of Blu-ray set. But so I run into Target just because they usually have, at least for a while, they were having some pretty good titles there. And I go there and it's just shrinking every time I go there. I mean, it's one shelf, maybe 10 titles across the board. It's just insanity. That's including like Blu-ray and DVDs, maybe like 10 movies themselves. And they had like another shelf like kind of like hidden in the back. It was almost like an end cap. It was just some stuff there, and it's just insanity that Best Buy's getting rid of their Blu-rays and physical media, and now Target is seemingly phasing out. It is funny to see that their vinyl record selection has overtaken that section, I guess, with the whole kind of vinyl record resurgence in the past decade or so, or in terms of mainstream level, because I'm sure people have probably been buying vinyl records for decades and decades, never stopped. But at least in the way that you can go to Walmart, I mean, Walmart has a vinyl record section now. It's wild. But actually, speaking of Walmart, I stopped in there as well to pick up some stuff, and I checked out the film section just at a glance, and they have that steelbook shelf that some people were posting about, and they actually had a lot of really cool stuff on there, man. They had a lot of cool titles, a lot of boutique label titles that got steelbooks. They had like the 4K of like Platoon and The Magnificent Seven, and some more contemporary stuff. They had like One Cut of the Dead and Skinamarink, and you can go online, you can look at a bunch of pictures of that. And I'm not a steelbook guy. I try not to buy steelbooks. They scratch usually. I don't like the casing and all that. I just prefer kind of like a traditional Blu-ray. But the fact matters that you can go to Walmart and get these titles. That's very cool, man. I've seen people post like the $5 bins to the steelbooks, and they didn't have a $5 bin there. But if you are at Walmart nearby in the States, keep an eye on that if you are interested, because they had quite a bit there, surprisingly enough. And that's cool though. Actually, funny enough, I was walking out and I caught the corner of my eye when people have online returns, and they resell them in the store. So I off the corner of my eye, off like a little kind of shelf, it was all these video games and stuff, but in the front, they had somebody returned a sealed copy of Death Wish 5, The Face of Death, for they only wanted $10 for it, or $10 or $11, whatever. And so I definitely grabbed that. I think Death Wish 5 is actually a pretty solid film. I mean, it's late Bronson. I mean, he's 70 at that point in that film. It's the weakest of the films, undoubtedly, but I think people just forget about Death Wish 5, because it's not as big and over the top as 3 or 4. and it's not as violent as one or two. Actually, especially two. It's definitely not near as that. But I think it's like a later entry film. It's enjoyable. I think it is good, and I'm glad that I did buy that. So all I need now is Death Wish 4: The Crackdown, which Death Wish 4 I think is really good. That's one that I actually still think is kind of underrated in terms of the series. I think the first three are talked about, and then 4 and 5 are kind of put aside. But 4 and 5, especially 4, I think it's just a fun, solid action film. It doesn't quite reach the same levels of just insanity as Death Wish 3, but that was such a high bar to reach in terms of just out of control like chaos. Where the third act of that film it's just pure cinema. It's this city, this whole area in this town going to war with each other. All the bikers, all the older people. Bronson's running out there that's louder, just gunning down people. I mean, it's sort of like it's just so much fun to watch. I mean, it's the perfect film to program at like a midnight sort of showing because, I mean, you just sit there, you're watching just Bronson just gun down these bad guys. He's got people who are like, we're not gonna take it anymore. We're gonna fight back against these punks, and it's just so much fun to watch, man. I hate the term turn off your brain, because that doesn't make any sense, man. Because you're still being able to enjoy the aspects of the film being made, the lighting, the way the shots are done, what are the editing, everything like that. If it was bad, you would notice this. You're not shutting your brain off. You're just enjoying the spectacle of cinema, and that's when I say there's a spectacle film, that's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just when I see some of these films coming out now where the spectacle is so nauseating, where you just watch these films and you're not you find, I mean, I found myself spacing out to some of these films. I mean, even films I've liked, if they're spectacle films, there are just sometimes where I'm just not interested in the noise and the loud kind of screen imagery. It's just very obnoxious and in your face, and that's fine. That'll work for some people. It's all subjective. But for me, I'm looking at just some of my favorite films of recent memory, and these aren't the ones that are in my periphery. But a newer film that I did actually like a lot, that I want to mention, is a new film from Italian filmmaker Alice Rohrwacher. Wacher? How do I say this? The name is Alice, and then Rohrwacher. I don't know how to say that name, but I did see her previous film, Happy as Lazaro. That was from 2018. And it's funny, I was getting her mixed up. I'm like, wait, isn't this the person who directed The Great Beauty from 2013? And I was completely wrong. The Great Beauty was directed by a different Italian filmmaker, Paolo Sorrentino. And The Great Beauty, I believe, actually even won that year for Best International Film. And what was his follow-up film? I know I saw his follow-up as well, because I think in the back of my mind I thought that he directed Happy as Lazaro, but no, he directed The Hand of God from 2021. That is correct. I was getting those two films mixed up, but she has a brand new film. It's been getting good word of mouth, and for good reason. It's her new film, La Chimera. This has a great lead performance by this guy, Josh O'Connor. And I think the less I say about the film, the better, because I walked into this not totally even really knowing what it's about. I had seen the trailer previously, but the idea of like a plot, I don't really want to get into it. I was also surprised at how comedic this film is. There's a lot of intentional comedy in this, and a lot of the absurdities of this character and the opening sequence of the film, he's on this train. You can just tell he's tired, he's annoyed, he's getting agitated by everything. He just snaps at one of these guys. These girls are being kind of, not even necessarily flirty. I mean, they're teenage girls, but they're being kind of, being like kind of pushy or like kind of poking him, like, hey, what about this, what about that, And he's like really wants to be left alone. And so when he gets back to his this small town, he's in like this rundown. I mean, he's basically squatting in this place, man. It's like it's on the side. It's beautiful. The landscapes in this film are beautiful. He's living like in this rundown kind of shack, like on the edge of this like hilltop. And every time they would cut to it, it looks so gorgeous. I mean, the Italian landscapes are just beautiful. But he gets back into his old ways. He gets himself basically into what do I want to say in this, because I think the less said about it, the better. Basically, for a lot of the film, I was a little curious as to what exactly he was doing to make money. I mean, he's selling these things, but it's a little vague. But then when you start to kind of figure out what's going on and what is really going on, it becomes kind of a whole different beast in and of itself. Where now the moralities of these characters start to be shifted, where you start to see kind of a change. And I should also say this character's name is Arthur. from Josh O'Connor, and you start to see kind of the moralities change, where the people around him aren't feeling kind of the same way as he is when he's making good money off this. And I think the less said about that, the better. And we also have some great side characters as well. I think the love interest, this actor, what the hell's her name? I want to make sure, Carol Duarte. They start to form something of a friendship, something of a, she's with him for a while until she kind of figures out what's going on, and she kind of distances herself from him. But it's just a great, it's one of these films where it's just, there's the whole cast of characters with Arthur, and I do apologize, I'm unfamiliar with the other actors in this and their characters, but it's so enjoyable to kind of watch them go back and forth and really kind of, get themselves into more and more of these, not even necessarily dangerous situations, but more so it's like how far they could be willing to go in terms of not just making money, but, what they have to do with after the fact, and sort of the areas that this film goes to. The less said, the better. But again, it's a beautifully shot film. It's a lot of like muted colors for a lot of it, but still able to kind of showcase this beautiful, Italian landscape. What I was saying before is that just a lot of different hillsides, a lot of the architecture of these not even just abandoned buildings, but these houses that have been there for generations and generations, and they're driving around the beautiful countryside, and it's just great, man. It's such an enjoyable film, and then it gets almost not even surreal at times, but there are times where the film will have these sections without dialogue, and we're following the characters, which is another thing I don't really want to get into as well, because at first I'm like, what are we doing with this character? Like, what's going on here? And then they do explain it enough in a way where you can kind of get with it, where the movie's kind of setting up its own reality at times, where this character can do something that's sort of more heightened, but you're able to buy it because the rest of the film it's not as heightened. It's like it's able to push it just enough where you go, all right, I can buy into that, because even when they go into like these kind of more heightened, I should say, kind of moments, that the camera starts to kind of shift, and you start to feel kind of disoriented and almost nauseated in a way, and the soundtrack starts to change as well. It's my only, not even minor gripe, it's not even really a gripe, I would say the pacing is a little off. Probably in the third act, there's a point where I thought the film was wrapping up, and then it goes on for about another half hour, and that's not even totally the film's fault, but I think because thinking that it's going to wrap up, or at least having this idea of the natural conclusion, that in my mind I'm thinking, well, where are we going to go with this from this point out? But even still, it's very enjoyable, and especially the ending as well, I thought was a really good place to end it. The actual final sequence of the final moment of the film, it's really kind of, it ties into the tone and the feeling of the whole film, kind of this, I keep saying it, this kind of heightened sort of reality, but pushing just enough, but also has this very really kind of tender place that it ends. But this was just such a joy to watch, man. I just really, I wish I remembered more of Happy as Lazaro, because I remember liking that film, but it didn't leave a whole lot of an impact on me, or much of an impression, I should say. And in watching this, it makes me want to kind of put that one back on and watch that with a new perspective, because I do remember liking it. I just, you watch so many films that certain films are just going to get lost in your memory, and that's just natural. That's for anything, like, people you meet or books you read. Some people are just, and some things are just going to fall out of circulation. Your brain only has so much storage, so it's like, some things are going to be replaced by others. But if you have the opportunity, definitely give it a watch. I imagine I'll probably be able to rent, or maybe it already is available to rent soon, or it'll pop up on Canopy or something like that. I imagine as much. But yeah, La Chimera, I really enjoyed this film. This is just one of these great highlights of the year so far. That's being I think film fans are talking about, but in terms of being pushed to the forefront, I don't think it quite is. Kind of what I was talking about before with The Monk and the Gun, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, which is just one of the best things I've seen this year. I really love that film, and I haven't heard anyone seen it. I'm looking at my Letterboxd acquaintances now, and none of my acquaintances had it logged, which is a shame. I think that's just a really excellent film that really is gonna hopefully find an audience. Deservedly so, but I suppose we'll see. But that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you guys have been having a fantastic week. I hope whenever you're listening to this, that you're focusing in on that daily kind of mindset of just moving forward, of working on your goals, your dreams, your passions, and just not letting anything kind of stop you, man. Not falling to societal norms or kind of just general nonsense, general BS. It's all nonsense, man. It's just you gotta be forthright in your life and kind of be at the center of it and really kind of just do what you got to do to get the job done. But that's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for listening.